There are fast-moving wildfires outside of Athens, and evacuation orders are in effect. Here to explain what is going on is AccuWeather Senior Meteorologist Tyler Roys. Tyler, thank you so much for joining us.
Of course.
I feel like here in the US, we are used to wildfire season in California. We don't hear as much outside of Athens. What is happening on the ground in Greece right now?
So right now there are two significant fires really going on just north east of the city, on the outskirts of the city. And what's happening is there's some very gusty winds, and it's been referred to the gale winds, just how strong they've been up in the 30 to 40 mile per hour range. They have kind of been from the northeast. So it's been pushing all the smoke in towards the center city itself. So it's seeing, if you remember what happened last year in the United States with all the smoke coming into New York City from the Canadian fires and the fires out west, Athens right now is dealing with that as we speak.
What should someone do? So many American tourists visit Europe and visit Greece every year. If I have a loved one in Greece right now, should they get out? Should they shelter? What's AccuWeather's advice?
Is to follow the local administrators and what they are saying. If they're notifying through apps or through news stations what to evacuate or to stay, that they should really be listening to the local advice that's going on right down there.
What caused this wildfire in the first place? Do we know the origin?
At this time, we necessarily don't know the necessary origin, but given how dry it has been, in that part of Greece, especially Athens, all of southern Greece, and that goes back all the way back to the winter, and that's even going. We can continue to go back the last couple of years with just a lack of precipitation for that area. The ground is just so dry, so anything that sparks at this time, everything is very much kindled for any fire. So what's happening is it's able to quickly and intensely rapid develop and spread quickly.
Wow. So a series of dry seasons
Hmm.
made the ground kindle, and we have the situation that's unfolding here today. How
Yes.
common is this for Greece or within Europe writ large?
So the wildfires at large in Europe, they're not necessarily as common, I would say, outside of Southern Europe. And by that, I really mean you specifically have Spain and Portugal. They get the wildfires roughly around the same time right now. Again, gets dry, it gets hot, and you get the combination for that. And Greece also happens to be another common area for wildfires in Europe. Um, and they typically see several of them. There are just multiple of them. There's very small ones, and then you typically see one or two big ones a year. But again, what makes this one a little bit different is just how close it is to Athens. So you throw in a very populous area, very historic area, and people, I don't say necessarily were caught off guard, but all of a sudden you have billowing smoke basically because of the wind direction, and people are very concerned for their health, understandably.
So are we officially in wildfire season right now, either in the US and Europe? Is there a
Yeah,
wildfire?
Yeah, it's typically mid to late summer all the way through into the fall, and then you typically should be getting into the rainier season for both location, both Southern Europe and in Western United States during the winter time. Um, Again, the West Coast or the western part of the United States has had some help in keeping the wildfire season a little bit more tame than what we've kind of been used to with the recent range over the last few winters. As I said, in Greece, that hasn't been the case.
I see. So in the United States, because of a few very bad wildfire seasons, are you saying there are more preventative measures in place right now, which is why we haven't seen quite as many in the US this year?
Not necessarily. It's more or less that we've gotten more rain, specifically in California, where some of the bigger wildfires have been known to happen. Um, And we've had the one big one that's in Northern California this year, but nothing has truly, there's not multiple big wildfires outbreaking across California. And a lot of that is due to the recent rains that they've had in the winter times, the last couple of winters, that have helped keep the ground a little more saturated and keep the ground from becoming that kindle that I mentioned earlier.
I see. So what is AccuWeather's prediction for the rest of the summer and early fall when it comes to wildfires, either here or in
Mhm.
Europe?
So it's right now. It's not to be on the I say extreme side for in the United States that what we have seen just a couple of years ago. It's kind of more towards a typical, maybe a little bit more active wildfire season, and that's large due to a little bit more wildfire action up in the Pacific Northwest and the Northern Rockies. In Europe, switching there, it is going to be definitely more active going into the fall, specifically in Southeast Europe, where at the current moment there's no end to the drought. And specifically, Greece is really in a exceptional drought going on right now. That's impacting the crops that have been planted earlier. So it's going to take a lot of rain this fall and into this winter for any improvements there.
So you say Greece is in an exceptional drought, but
Mhm.
Southeast Europe in general should be on guard. What other countries are you looking at? And if folks have vacations scheduled for those countries, which ones should they be aware of?
Yeah, so I would say I would include Italy, I would include Portugal and Spain. It necessarily hasn't been record-breaking heat in both locations, but all across Southern Europe, it's just been on the very warm side throughout uh, throughout the summer. You're talking in terms of length of days that are above 90 degrees, 32 Celsius. They're breaking duration wise in the summertime records left and right for various cities like Milan, Madrid, and Athens.
How much of this is a result of climate change?
It's a very good question. It really comes down to the the intensity of the heat. It's not in terms of going into the summer. There's a very good idea that it was going to be on the drier side and on the warmer side across Southern Europe. Where climate change really comes in is more or less the intensity and helping expand or just go to show how hot it's going to be. Um, so given that and given what we've seen, there is climate change has played a role along with human interactions with the ground. And by that, I mean cultivating the what used to be just normal vegetation and saying, oh, we're going to build development here. We're going to put a farm here. We're going to put more dense forest here. All of those actions that change what the ground actually was before plays a role in drying everything out and almost becoming timber-like for when we do run into these situations.
How much worse could the situation in Greece get? Do you have a forecast for how big the fire will get or what will happen over the next coming hours and days?
It, Thankfully, I was just checking. It's good and bad news. One is that there's no chance for any relief in terms of rainfall for where the area that the fire is happening. The good news is that the wind that helped really spread the fire, that really helped spread the smoke across the city, has started to wind down as of this evening. So as you go through the rest of the week, it's not going to be as windy across much of Athens and the capital district over there. So the fire shouldn't spread as rapidly, and the smoke necessarily isn't going to be. It will probably continue to impact in air quality in the sky, but it's not going to be as extreme as it has been the last 24 to 48 hours.
All right, that sounds like medium news. Not
Yeah,
great, but not the worst.
yeah,
Perhaps
yeah.
the best we can hope for at this juncture, given the state of the drought and the state of
Yes,
AccuWeather's Tyler Royce. Thank you so much for joining us
you're
and spending
welcome.
some time to explain what's happening in Greece. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome.